Okay, so hopefully you already watched the video that had 1 through 9, and this is 10 through 20 of the practice test 6A. So here is number 10. I'm going to get a drawing tool and we'll use green. What is the area of a triangle with vertices at -1, -1, 3, -1, and 2, 2? Well, it's always helpful. Oh, that's not a very straight line. But it's helpful to graph. So -1, -1 would be 1 step to the left and 1 step down. And then 3, -1 would be 1, 2, 3 steps to the right and 1 step down. Now notice that both of these points are 1 step down, and from -1 to 3 is 4 steps across. Okay, and then 2, 2 is the other point. So 1, 2, up 2 is the third point of our triangle. And we're to find the area of this triangle, and the area of a triangle, so I'll put area with a little t there. Area of a triangle is 1/2 the length of the base times the height. So how high is this triangle? So remember, this point here is 2, 2. Okay, so it is 2 steps above, but then this baseline is 1 step below because that was -1 and -1. So 2 above and 1 below means that the whole height is 3 units. Okay, so we're going to grab an eraser here. I'm going to erase base, and I'm going to erase height, and I'm going to put in base of 4 and height of 3. Okay, so that's the area. 1/2 of 4 is 2, and 2 times 3 is 6. Now this is area, so it is in square units. So 6 square units would be our area. We do not just write 6. Because it is area, it should be in square units. Number 11. Write 40% as a decimal number and a reduced fraction. So 40%, to write 40% as a decimal, we're going to remember that this is out of 100. So 40 out of 100 is a fractional value, which we know when we divide by 100, we just move the decimal 2 places over. So 40% is taking the decimal that is here and moving it 2 places to the left to get rid of the percent sign. So 0.4 would be a decimal number, and 40 over 100th is a fraction, but not reduced. So we cross out the zeros. Now, reduced is a term that's not used much anymore. Most books will now use simplified. Okay, so we're not reducing anything because we're not changing the value to make it smaller. We're just simplifying the fraction. It means the same thing as 40 over 10, but we can write it, divide by 2 on the top, and we get 2. Divide by 2 on the bottom, and we get 5. So the simplified fraction is 2/5. So the answer to this question is 0.4 for the decimal and 2/5 for the fraction. Number 12. Convert 5/6 to a decimal with a bar over the repetends. So to convert a fraction to a decimal, we do a simple division. 5 divided by 6. Now, since 5 since 6 does not go into 5, we're going to go ahead and put a decimal and a 0. And we can extend as many zeros as we want, and our decimal will go right above. Okay, so 6 into 50 is going to go 8 times, because 8 times 6 is 48. And we subtract and get 2. But we want to keep on dividing. So we'll bring down another 0. And 6 into 20 is going to go 3 times, because 6 times 3 is 18. And guess what? We have another 2, which was what we had before. So we don't have to keep on doing this. We know that we had a 2 here. It gave us a 3. We have another 2. This is going to continue forever, isn't it? So 0.833 repeating. So we're going to write that as 0.83 with the bar over this 3 is called the repetend, because it is the portion that continues on and on. Number 13. Earth's average distance from the sun is about 93 million miles. Express that number in scientific notation. So remember, the decimal's got to come here from where it is right now, which is at the end of the number. So we're going to move 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 to the left to get 9.3. And since we moved 7 to the left, that is a division by 10 to the 7th. So we must compensate by multiplying by 10 to the 7th. So in other words, we divided by 10 to the 7th to get the decimal where we wanted it. And so to undo that, we have to multiply by 10 to the 7th, because we always want our scientific notation to exactly represent the number we started out with. Number 14, triangle ABC is transformed to A prime, B prime, C prime by a what? Okay, so what is happening here? Translation, rotation, reflection, dilation. Okay, so we're only allowed to choose one. So we're going to say that this one is a reflection. And that right here looks like that would be about a line of reflection, right? Okay, so remember, dilation makes it greater or smaller in size, so that's not it. Rotation is when it spins around, and that's not what happened. Translation is when it just moves to a different place. Okay, that's not what's happening, because it's not the same as it moves, but it is a reflection. And when there's a reflection, there is a line of reflection, and it would be right in between the two. So basically, if this were a piece of paper, you could fold it right there on that line of reflection, and this would fold right over to the other image. All right, finding the missing exponent. This is number 15. Now remember, when we multiply like bases, we add the exponents together. So 10 to the 9th power would be the answer. Okay, number 16, solve by inspection. Okay, so t plus 2. Now, I'm just going to multiply both sides by 3. Remember, I can multiply both sides by 3, divide both sides by any same number, multiply both sides by 3, and when I do that to this side, the 3, so I'm going to multiply by 3 on this side. I'm going to multiply by 3 on this side, and won't this 3 cancel this 3 to give us t plus 2 equals 12. So now if I subtract 2 and I subtract 2, I'm going to get t, this cancels, equals 10. That is my answer. Now to check it, I'm going to go back up here, get rid of that, and go back to the original equation, and I'm going to plug in the 10 right here. 10 plus 2 is 12, divided by 3 is 4, and it checks. Check. All right, so let's go to number 17. We have 1/2 plus 1/3 times 1/4. Now remember that times in order of operations goes before plus. It is like the higher ranking officer in the military. We must salute it first. We must take care of it. So 1 times 1 is 1, and 3 times 4 is 12. So now we're going to bring this 1/2 plus 12. Okay, now 1/2 and 12 can't add until I get a common denominator. So I'm going to multiply this one by 6 on the top and 6 on the bottom. And I'm going to get 6/12 plus 1/12 is 7/12. Very important to use your order of operations on everything. So the answer is 7/12 on number 17. Number 18 has 1.2 plus 0.36 divided by 0.06. So when I'm doing order of operations on something that looks like a fraction like this, I'm going to treat the numerator first, and then I'll divide by the denominator. So even though you don't see it here, we're going to treat this like it is a operation all by itself. Like simplify the numerator, then simplify the denominator, and then divide. So we're going to say 1.2. Remember, when we're adding our decimals, we must line up the decimals. Okay, so I'm just, to make it easier, I'm going to add a 0 so I have enough decimals. 0 plus 6 is 6. 2 plus 3 is 5. Decimal 1. So this is going to be 1.56 divided by 0.06. So let's do that with long division. 1.56 divided by 0.06. Okay, now remember, when my divisor has decimals, I must clear those decimals. So now I'm doing 6 into 156, and my new decimal will be right here at the end. And 6 goes into 15 0 times. Okay, so 6 goes into 15, excuse me, not 0 times, 2. 2 times 6 is 12. 15 minus 12 is 3. Bring down my 6. 6 goes into 36 6 times. And I have no remainder. I do not need to extend this at all. 26 is my final answer. Number 10. 19, excuse me. We have 5 to the 0 is 1 plus 4 minus 3. So we're just going to put a 1 above there so we don't have to copy this again. Copying is pretty tedious with this. So now I have to look and say, okay, what has to happen first? This multiplication is the highest priority, isn't it? So we're going to say 3 times 2, but it's a negative 3 times 2. We'll say this is a negative 6 plus 1. A 4 is on the other side. And then plus 5 to the 0 is 1. So now everything is plus or minus. I'm going to go left to right. 1 plus 4 is 5. 5 take away 6 is negative 1. Plus 1 is 0. And lastly, we have multiplication, x cubed times x to the 4th is x to the 7th, divided by x to the 5th, When we divide, we subtract the exponents and we get x squared. And we are done.